Okay, so here is quiz number 3. Question number 1, which is right here. Alright, so this is quiz 3, question number 1. So they're asking us to factor that. So how do we factor with 4 terms? It's 2 terms, 2 terms. What do the first 2 terms have in common? Looks like x squared leaves 4x plus 1, because if that x squared multiplied, it would go back to 4x cubed and x squared. And then these two, bring down the plus sign that's in the middle there, these two have in common 8. What does that leave? Also 4x plus 1, because if that 8 multiplied, it would go back to 32x into 8. Now, we can't stop here because we have the plus sign outside of the parentheses. You can't leave that. You're never done when you have a plus sign outside of the parentheses. That also tells you how to look at this thing. You should look at it as boom and boom. That's the separator. Okay, so what do they both have the same? They both have a 4x plus 1. You put it in the front, start a new set of parentheses, remove it, bring down the x squared plus 8. The reason why that is, it's because it's like x squared w plus 8w. This whole parenthesis 4x plus 1 is like a big W. What would you do? You would take out the W, huh? Just one of them. Even some people say, well, there's 2, shouldn't you do squared? But you know just one of them could distribute back, huh? Same thing here. We don't take 2 of these out. Just one of them could distribute back. There's our final answer. Okay, this is question 2. And they want me to take this and factor. So first step is GCF, right? What's in common? It looks like they have 3. 3, if you use your calculator, 3 goes into all those numbers. And they all have an x. You take the lowest. They got x cubed, x squared, x. Take the lowest, which is plain x. And then what else? Do they all have a y? Yeah, they do. Take the lowest, which is just regular y. That's the lowest y. So you take out 3, and then the lowest x, and the lowest y. So 3xy, 1 big parenthesis, GCF 1 parenthesis. What goes inside? Whatever works. This would be x squared, because if you multiplied that, it would go back to 3x cubed y, plus 2xy, because if you multiplied that, it would go back to that one, minus, I don't know, what is that, 48? Yeah, and y squared, because if you multiplied that, it would go back to that. Okay, so now, that's the first step. Take out the GCF, and so next, you do the diamond thing, right? So we say, what is going to... Oops, sorry, multiply goes at the back, doesn't it? Multiply to be that one, and add to be that. So what's going to multiply? To be minus 48. Add to be plus 2. What times what does that? 6 times 8. And the sign on the bottom goes on the bigger. So plus 8 minus 6. So that's my pair. So you leave the 3xy in the front. And you put 2 parentheses now. And it's going to be x is in the front, minus 6 plus 8. And we have y squared in the back, so we need y's in the back. There we go. Here's number 3, factoring again. So the first thing to do is to reorder. So first, reorder. So minus 24x squared plus 26x minus 2, right? When you move things around, you've got to take the sign that's in front of them with them. I always call that your baby. You take your baby with you wherever you go. So I reordered them from highest power to lowest. Second, what do we do next in factoring? We always do the GCF, if it's there, if there's something in common. Looks like they all have 2 in common, and the front guy is negative, so that means negative 2 must be taken out. What does that leave inside? 12x squared minus 13x plus 1. If you multiply that, it would go back to minus 24. It would go back to plus 26. It'd go to minus 2. So it's right. Now, we've got to do more factoring. This is a hard one. So, how do we factor these three? We're going to have to do the slide and divide, right? Because you have a number in the front. Whenever you're doing the three terms and you get a number in the front, you're going to have to do slide and divide. Right now we're going to write it right here. Slide and divide. So that means I'm going to have to take that 12 and slide it to the back. Whoops. So this will become x squared minus 13x plus 12 times 1 is 12. Okay. And then we'll do the diamond on that. What multiplies to be 12 adds to be minus 13. Multiplied to be 12. Adds to be minus 13. That'd be 1 and 12. Sign in the bottom goes in the bigger, and it goes in the other one. Two negatives multiply to be positive 12. Right? Negative times negative makes positive 12 and adds to be negative 13. That's it. So that would be x minus 1, x minus 12. That's the slide. But now we've got to do the divide. Would you divide by that number that was in the front that you multiplied by? Now undo it by dividing by 12. This one just becomes x minus 1 when you reduce that fraction. This one can't reduce, so the 12 slides back. 12x minus 1. Don't forget the minus 2 in the front. That was part of the original solution as well. There we go. There's the answer to that one. Okay, so here on number 4, we're supposed to factor that. Okay, so it's again factoring. So what do they have in common? 5 and y, these two terms have in common 5 and y leaves 4x squared minus 1. So first is GCF, like always, right? Take out what's in common. So, right, because if you multiply that, it'd be 20x squared y, and be back to that. You multiply that, 5y times 1 times negative 1 is negative 5y, so that's good. Now, are we done there? Turns out we can do a little bit more. How do you know? Whenever you see something with a 2 power or higher, you think about maybe going further. If that was just regular x, I wouldn't even give it a thought. I would just go, we're done. That's it. But because it's a 2 power, we think, maybe it'll go further. Then we recognize, oh yeah, that's a double, isn't it? That's 2x times 2x, and of course 1 times 1 makes 1. So what does that mean? It means the 5y still stays at the front, and then we have the 2 parentheses. The 2 items from the left go left, left. The 2 items that make the right go right, right. And to get negative 1, 1 positive, 1 negative, there it is. We factored number 4. So number 5. And factoring that, let me bring it down here, 27x cubed minus 8y cubed. First step, GCF. Is there something in common? No. There's no number that goes into 8 and 27. They don't both have an x. They don't both have a y. So there's no GCF. So no GCF, so we can't do that. What do we do then? We look and say, what else can we do? This is a triple notice. So let me write that to make it easier. This is 3x times 3x times 3x and 2y times 2y times 2y. So that means we can now factor it as a little parenthesis and a big. Remember how the pattern for triple goes? In fact, I can write the pattern out here. The pattern when you have left, 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 right, right, right is a little parenthesis and a big. 1 left, 1 right. 2 left, 2 right. And then 1 of each in the middle. So 1 left, 1 right. 2 left, 3x times 3x, 9x squared. 2 right, 2y times 2y, 4y squared. And in the middle, right, 1 left, 1 right, 2 left, 2 right, 1 of each in the middle. So a 3x and a 2x together in the middle makes 6xy. 3x times 2y is 6xy. And then what do we do with the signs? We SOAP. Same, opposite, always positive. Same, opposite, always positive. Same as what? As what we started with. We started with minus. The problem given to us was minus. So we do the same as that, the opposite of that, and always positive at the back. There it is. Here's number 6. They want us to solve. So notice we have the word solve and we have an equal sign. We have a left side and a right side and an equal sign. So we're not just factoring now, we're solving an equation. So they have x equals in the end. Okay. Let me make it a little bigger here. So 3x squared plus 2x minus 13 equals 19 minus 18x. Okay. So what are we going to do? We're trying, what's the game plan? Whenever you have x squared with an equal sign, the game plan, step 1, is you want to get a 0. Want to get a 0 on one side. Step 2 is factor the other side, like the parentheses. Step 3, each one gets its own 0 and solve. That's the plan whenever you have x squared with an equal sign. You want to put that in your 3x5 card for the exam. Okay, so we got a step 1, got to get a 0. So that means go minus 19 and plus 18x. There's step 1. Get a 0. Whatever you do to one side, you got to do to the other. I'll line up things. So then what do we get? This is 3x squared plus 20x. I'm supposed to have an x there, huh? And then minus, what's that, 32, and then that's 0. Okay, so now we have our 0. That's step 1. We got a 0. Step 2, now we're supposed to factor. So how do we factor this thing? Well, this is, factoring, first step is always GCF. This one has no GCF. There's nothing in common to those three numbers. So no GCF, so instead, what are we going to do? We have to slide and divide, don't we? Because this has number in the front, 3 terms, number in the front. So grab that, multiply it to the back. So I'm going to do slide and divide. So slide and divide. So this becomes x squared plus 20x. Whoops, getting a little sloppy there. X squared plus 20x minus 96. Okay, so now we got a 0. So now with the slide and divide technique, we multiply the number to the back, and now we do our diamond thing. And we say, okay, what multiplies to be minus 96 and adds to be 20? So what are two numbers that multiply to be 96? I'm thinking 6 and 16. No, that's not it. I don't know. Is it 4 and 24? That's it. Yeah. So I'm doing that. You can just use a calculator. Remember how to do that? Just take minus 96. You just take this number and you just start dividing. Divide by 2, you'll get 48. And then ask yourself, can 2 and 48 somehow make the 20? No way. Well, then you go divide by 3, and if you divide by 3, you get like 32. And ask yourself, can 3 and 32 make the 20? No way. Divide by 4, and you get 4 and 24. And say, can 4 and 24 make the 20? Yeah. So there's my pair. What signs do they need? The sign in the bottom, which is positive, goes on the bigger. So plus 24 minus 4 adds to be 20 and multiplies to be negative 96. That's my pair. So then that becomes what? That becomes x minus 4 and x plus 24 equals 0. But that's just the slide. Now we got to do the divide. So you got to divide by what? That number that was in the front, the 3. So divide by 3, divide by 3. This one just becomes 8, right? 24 divided by 3 is just 8. The other one can't reduce, so the 3 slides back to the front. 3x minus 4. So there we have it all factored. Get rid of this stuff. Now, that was all step 2. It was a lot of work. So that was step 2, factor. Step 3, each one gets its own 0. That's because this times this is equaling 0. If two things times to be 0, the first one could be 0, or the second one could be 0, right? If they multiply to be 0, either one could be 0 to make them multiply to be 0. So then solve from there. Add the 4 to both sides. So 3x equals 4 divided by 3. 4/3. It's kind of scribbly there. Or subtract the 8 from both sides. Minus 8. So the answers are 4/3 and minus 8. They want you to type them in with a comma, just like that. No parentheses or anything else, either order. Okay, so here's number 7. We're supposed to simplify this. So let me rewrite it. To simplify this, we're going to factor the top, take out a -7. What will that leave? Is it it's a minus because that'll multiply to be -7a. That a times negative will go back to positive 7b. And then these guys can cancel. So it's just -7. So number 8. So we have to simplify this expression. 36 minus m squared over m minus 6. The issue on the top is that things are out of order. So this right here, we reorder with the highest power in the front. So minus m squared, like that. And then we don't want minuses in the front. So then factor out -1. Right? Because -1 times m squared will go back to minus m squared. -1 times minus 36 will go back to plus 36. That's right. Then we can factor the rest of it. What do I mean by the rest of it? Well, -1 stays in the top, and then this m squared minus 36 is m plus 6, m minus 6, all over the m minus 6 in the bottom. These cancel, so the answer is -1 times m plus 6. Okay, so here on number 9, I don't know if you can see it, but that's a divide in the middle there, so it's u squared minus v squared over u plus v divided by u over u squared plus vu. Now dividing, we know that what you do is you change to multiply and you flip, because dividing is upside down multiplying, so flip the one on the right and it becomes u squared plus vu over u. The left side stays the same. And now we need to factor. So this piece can factor is u minus v, u plus v. This piece just comes over u plus v times. And then this part, what can I do here? GCF, huh? Take out, these guys both have a u in common. Take it out. On the bottom is a u. Okay, so now what can we cancel? Now we've got everything factored. The u's will cancel. You can go straight up and down or diagonal up and down. So I can cancel these two. What are we left with? The u minus v times the u plus v. That's it. Okay, so here's number 10. Last one. So to multiply, it's a bunch of factoring. So let's do this part first. 4 factoring problems, basically. How do you factor that part? Take out the GCF of 4. What's in common? The GCF. These two, take out the GCF of x. Times these 3. Oh, that's hard factoring. Is there a GCF for those 3? No, there's no number that goes into 4, 21, and 5. So how do we factor? We can't. There's no GCF. Slide and divide, huh? Slide and divide. So take that 4, slide it to the back. I'm going to bring this over here. This is going to become, the 4 is gone. It's going to be x squared plus 21x plus plus 20 when we slide that to back, and then do the diamond thing. What multiplies to be 20 adds to be 21, so what multiplies to be 20 adds to be 21. 1 times 20, both positive, right? Multiplies to be 20, adds to be 21. So that means we can factor that as x plus 1, x plus 20. That's the slide, but now we got to do the divide. So divide by what? By that number we slid from the front, 4. Divide them both by 4. So this becomes x plus 5. 20 divided by 4 is 5. The 4 you can't go 1 divided by 4, so it slides back. 4x plus 1. All right, what do we got? 4x plus 1, x plus 5. That's the factorization of the upper right. That's, that's this. And then the bottom part here, that factors difference of squares. Double, double, x plus 5, x minus 5. All right. It's all factored. Now we cancel whatever we can cancel. 4x plus 1, x minus 5, x plus 5. Top and bottom, straight up and down or diagonal. What are we left with? Just 4 and x. So there we go. There's quiz number 3.